Welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about Gravity Forms feeds. It is an unsung hero and a very dynamic part of Gravity Forms that makes Gravity Forms very powerful when you start connecting up third-party services or add-ons and really making your WordPress website do more things than just take the Gravity Form entry. Feed is sort of like a business card. You have all of your fields on a business card: name, location, logo, byline, phone number, email address. And those are all fields that when you hand it to somebody, everybody kind of understands what's happening there. You've mapped your information to their brain, or maybe they scan it into a system that saves this information. A feed acts in that same way, where it pushes data out from your Gravity Form entry into places like HubSpot, Dropbox, and almost all of the add-ons that we have has some form of the feed when it's pushing data out. Each add-on can have multiple feeds, where maybe 99% of us might only use one feed per add-on. But if you're in a very complex WordPress project that you're building, you're in a large organization, when you can see the power unlock of multiple feeds, and then when you couple that with conditional logic, the ability to do more dynamic stuff with Gravity Forms and WordPress and your data going out to the web is truly phenomenal. Let's dive into some sample stuff and we can demo that right now. The first thing I want to demonstrate is the feed and how it is different for each add-on, right? Largely this stuff is dictated by the add-on that you're working with, because we can only send out so much data to a particular service. I mean, only services that get images or files like a Dropbox are going to take that type of field, whereas a third-party CRM like HubSpot is going to take a whole bunch of fields and content. They'll take files too, but they take a lot more content and fields that you can map to. So let me just show you the difference. If we look at the Dropbox add-on, I don't have a feed set up yet, but if I just show it to you here on the screen, you really only have one choice, like where this file is going to be stored and which field from your contact form, or maybe fields that have files associated with it, that you can map to your Dropbox account. Very simple. You set up the feed, you name the feed, and then you select which file field you're going to send that data to. Versus a HubSpot, when we look at HubSpot, we'll edit the HubSpot feed. There's a lot more here to set up. And this is all specific to HubSpot, just like it was specific to Dropbox. The HubSpot add-on has its specificity for the fields that you can map. So lead status, that's a HubSpot thing. Life cycle stage, that's a HubSpot thing. Contact owner, etc. The core of HubSpot in today's example is mapping the email, first name, and last name. That's the bare minimum you need to connect your contact form from Gravity Forms up to a HubSpot account. This isn't supposed to be a HubSpot tutorial, but it does help demonstrate the feed and mapping fields to a third-party service. So we're just going to leave this stuff default right here: email, first name, last name. And as I was mentioning, there's a ton of fields inside of HubSpot, which is vastly different than something like a Dropbox. And that's what I want to illustrate to you, that the feeds can feel and act differently per add-on. Really depends on where you're sending this data off to. I'm going to actually map membership notes, just so you can see it as an example, to our comments field that I already have set up in the Gravity Form on this website. So I'm just going to, as an example, show you that, yes, we can select additional HubSpot fields and additional fields from our contact form, which will push that data out from WordPress and Gravity Forms to HubSpot. So let's take a look at that example live in action. Okay, so I have my HubSpot dashboard up on the screen. There's only 2 contacts. This is a fresh install of HubSpot. We'll go to our contact page where we'll put in our information, and that will get sent over through the feed that we just connected into our HubSpot account. So let's go first name, last name, email address. I'll leave all this stuff default, and we're just going to put test in the comments, and we will click on submit. That'll send that data right over to HubSpot. We'll go to our HubSpot dashboard, hit refresh. There's the entry. Immediately sent over to HubSpot, and now it's, my contact is here in HubSpot, and I can do all the HubSpot things and, insert your favorite other service. If we're talking just CRMs or email sending platforms, you'd be setting it up just like that. Send that name, email, and other information over. I'm not quite sure where they put community notes. I think that was the other field that I connected there. But if you're using community notes or you're a real HubSpot user, you'll know where that stuff is. And you can map this stuff to any of these fields, just like we saw on the feed screen. Tons of fields to select from on HubSpot, and you see how easy that is to just map the fields and get it into our new data source, which is HubSpot. Okay, so that's the power and simplicity all at the same time, I hope, of setting up feeds to another service. The other unsung hero, which I always talk about with Gravity Forms, is conditional logic. So the feed is very powerful, and then when you match that up with conditional logic, we can do a lot more stuff. So let's go back to our form, and we'll go to the HubSpot settings. And remember, that's just HubSpot feed number 1. I can create multiple feeds to do different things and map fields in different areas. The best way to do that is associate conditional logic with your particular feed. Let me just scroll down to the bottom and select conditional logic. And when you're selecting conditional logic here, it's only going to process this feed if the conditional logic requirements are met. So for example, I have a drop-down field called reason for contact. So what I could do is assign the feed to only process if the person is reaching out for sales. So let's just use this as an example. HubSpot is a great sales tool. If you have a small or medium-sized business, this is a very popular tool. And you'd be using this for your sales lead generation. Or if you're a web agency and you're setting this up for your clients, you're taking all of those sales contacts and you're saying, hey, if they're filling out your lead gen form, let's put this into your HubSpot sales dashboard. But the issue is maybe you're trying to also save on costs on the other end. You don't want all of the contacts going into HubSpot, let's say. If we go back to our conditional logic, you can map the conditional logic to a dropdown like I have on the form that says reason for contact is sales, support, service, or other. If a user is selecting support or service, you don't want them going into that sales dashboard. So what we can say is process this feed if all the requirements are met or all the following match, and that is reason for contact is sales. So as long as somebody has that selected in the dropdown, it will send that over to HubSpot. Or you could mix and match. You could have another feed where the user selects support, and maybe it goes to a whole different dashboard in your HubSpot, or it gets labeled or associated to another group or another department, another user in your HubSpot dashboard. And you can set up that mixing and matching of multiple feeds with conditional logic to really start to turn your WordPress and Gravity Forms site into this powerful engine for the organization that you're working with. So feeds, conditional logic, very, very powerful and fairly easy to use. So that's it for today's video. That's feeds and Gravity Forms with a little dash of conditional logic. I largely showed you HubSpot, but this works with almost all of our add-ons where we're sending data out to these other platforms, HubSpot, MailChimp, MailerLite, Salesforce. All of them are leveraging the feed in some form or fashion. Again, put a dash of conditional logic, and you can do some really powerful things with Gravity Forms and third-party services using our add-ons only at gravityforms.com. Check it out, gravityforms.com. Stay subscribed. Thumbs up if you like the video. Leave a comment. What are you using your feeds for? Conditional logic? What are you building? What's the engine you've built with Gravity Forms and WordPress and communicating with the web? I'd love to know. Leave them in the comments below. All right, thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next video.